you will have little setbacks, but you should overcome them. And that's the essence of a founder, because the founder doesn't give up. He completes the marathon, and the goal line is basically the exit. So if you make it there, you finished your marathon.
Hi, before we jump into the Grow From podcast, I just wanted to say a few things. First, thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting the Grow From project, and hopefully you're getting a lot out of these interviews. We've had some really inspirational speakers, and this interview in particular is with one of my mentors in the entrepreneurship space, and I think you'll get a lot out of this conversation too. Secondly, I hope you'll take a time, if you haven't already, to check out the Grow From app. It's our app designed to help you stay focused on your goals and be productive on a daily basis. No bells, alarms, and whistles to distract you throughout the day, just a clean place where you can store your goals and take actions towards them. We've got it on the iPhone store, the Android store, we've got it as a Google browser extension, and we also have it as a website. Check it out at app.growfrom.com. With that, please enjoy this podcast with Michael Gaenzler. Sincere appreciations to him for all that he's done to help us get here. Welcome to the Grow From podcast, where we're shining a spotlight on people who've dedicated their careers to helping others grow. We have an especially important guest today, Michael Gaenzler, a remarkable mentor with a passion for supporting startups and founders with world-changing ideas. With 15,000 followers, he is recognized as one of the most knowledgeable people in the automotive industry. Michael excels in driving high growth and managing high-stress environments. Michael's rich background spans industries like mobility, packaging, factory automation, and power tools. He's known as the one-man incubator with a vast network. He offers his strategic vision, implementation support, and motivation. His innovative work in the automotive space has earned accolades such as the Red Dot and German Design Awards. Michael actively mentors through VMT, Tampa Bay Wave, and Techstars, supporting a variety of businesses. And as a dual citizen of both US and Germany, he brings global leadership experience and bridges cultural gaps in work and leadership styles. He's also enhancing his skills through executive coaching education. We are thrilled to have Michael Gaenzler here with us today, and I am especially thrilled to have you here with us today, Michael, because of the unique gift that you've given the Grow From project in being our lead mentor for the last year and a half. So I'm super excited that you're here, and today we are going to be unpacking what mentorship is, what mentors do, how to find a mentor, and really hear from you exactly what it is that mentors are looking for and how they can help people move forward in their career. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Kevin, for having me. I enjoyed our project, and it was the beginning of my mentoring career when I started with the venture mentoring team. I became the lead mentor because everybody else stepped back, and I was the only one standing in front. And I was like, okay, I take the challenge, and I became the lead mentor for our project. So how did I end up in mentoring? I spent 32 years running businesses, restructuring or rescuing businesses because I believe in people and I believe in ideas. But I did it in the corporate world. And the corporate world has its own challenges because you have to you don't have to convince an investor, but you have to convince your organization that this product is needed and the support is needed and it has a future. So I spent a lot of time doing strategy selling and selling up in the organization. And I reached a point where I was no longer in the fun zone and of restructuring and being a little bit off the mainstream, off the beaten path, and I moved too close to the mainstream. And I decided, hey, this is not for me. Now it's time to take my experience and bring it to somebody who cherishes it and who has more passion than bureaucracy. So that's how I changed to mentoring startups. And I the last 6 years, I met a lot of startups in my business development and strategy time, and I learned a lot from them. And I asked everybody what their secret sauce is and what their business model is, and kind of getting into the pitch fever. So that's when I decided, hey, this is what I really like and where my passion is and where my next career path is.
So, what I think is really cool, and what I'd love for you to unpack for us is for the people watching this, what is the role of the mentor? Like, if you have never gone out and sought out a mentor before, what is it that they can expect from you? What is it that people are seeking from you? And what is the value that you really feel like you provide in relationships?
So first of all, you have to listen what your counterpart, your founder, or your mentee wants to do. You need to understand quickly where this is going, and then you pack it into a strategic format, the pitch deck, and you kind of slice it down to 12 pages maximum and make it really concise. And then the next effort, if this is agreed upon and everybody thinks, hey, this rings a bell, and you can take it to investors, to customers, to uh, employees or future employees or co-founders, to get them on board, then you work on implementation with the founder. And so first you write the strategy and the storyboard for the startup, then you put it in operation. And both sides, for me, a lot of fun, because I like to kind of hone it down to a precise, laser focused pitch deck and story, and a story that you can tell. So every founder has his own her own passion, and you need to define this, because it's most convincing when you are able to tell it from the heart. If you
Mm.
put all your passion in it, then the story catches on. Everybody will feel that you're the one that can carry the torch for this project. And then you actually, then it's time to implement it. And it's important to get the first part from idea to MVP or POC right, because you also need to show that your idea works. And that's the next big step. So you have these different phases with the startups that need a lot of coaching and mentoring. And I really differ or differentiate between coaching and mentoring. There's a phase where the mentoring is clearly okay. You give directions. You say, oh, in my experience, we should do this. The
Mm.
coaching is more what's the answer of the founder, because where's the passion, what's in the heart of the founder to drive this project. So there's two elements in this whole mentoring. The coaching side is also very important, and it makes a great mentor if you can coach also the startup founder.
One of the things that fascinates me, and as a startup founder myself, I can glimpse the rationale or the thinking, but I can't fully grasp it. And that is, for the last year and a half, you've been helping grow, and you've helped mentor tons of other businesses as well. And what people may not know is that there's no monetary gain. There's no like financial incentive at this point that I haven't paid you for the grow from mentoring, but the there's coaching, there's mentoring, there's advisory. There's all sorts of different levels that a person can support a business, but you are involved at in every single level. You have mentors, you have companies that you're mentoring, you have companies that you're coaching, companies that you're advising. So what is it you gain out of all of that? Like, why do you do it? Why do you spend the time on these super young startups? What's in it for you?
So you come to a point where you think you know a lot and you want to. I want to keep fresh. So I learn a lot from startups with their ideas and their their passions. So I can enter new fields. I had no idea about personal growth until I met you. So I feel that I learned a lot from you. So I am a lifelong learner, and I'm really excited about learning new things. Even if I'm not the expert in this topic, I I think I can learn and contribute to something. I That's why I pick some odd startups too that are not in my comfort zone. They are completely outside. I have a startup that I work with, affirmation mirror, it, and I didn't know about affirmations before, and I started learning about it. I know the technology part because it was a small recording device in a kind of Apple design, and so I learn new things all the time, and not the things where I'm an expert in, but they also then help me in my expertise because I learn connected ideas and bring them together, and my brain works a little different. I connect things, and I look at things, and when I was a kid I played puzzle and I was very good at that because I saw the missing part, and I saw a part lying, and I said this is it, and I picked it up and put it in. So this is kind of the things how I connect people and startups, and use my network to bring the right people on board for the right time, so we can help the startup uh, building and bringing it all together. Because it's not only the telling what to do, but it's also bringing in experts for certain topics. And you cannot be the expert in everything. So you need to have like software people that build the architecture. You need a legal guy for IP and business constructions. So you need to know the right people that are like-minded, that want to help. And I know that startups don't have a lot of money, and I always pray. My one big thing is watch the runway and to be very frugal. So, um, and the one big thing is I learn a lot, and I have, as outside my altruistic mentoring, I also do the same thing for profit. So I have like, and I can transfer my learnings from left to right, from the profit side to the non-for-profit. So it's always improving my capabilities,
So
and I
you
learn
really
from
kind of,
and I learn
I
from the
mean,
other mentors too.
yeah, I mean, you are like the epitome of somebody who's just immersed in this world of learning, of whether it's the, like you said, whether it's with the other mentors, with the other entrepreneurs, and I think that that's a very interesting personality trait because there are so many people who are focused on getting to the end result and don't appreciate the journey that goes through. And it feels like you, more than anything, love the journey that people are going through and the variations that come along with it.
Yeah, but you develop a vision together, but a vision without execution is a hallucination. So, and I always want to prove that my vision is right. So for me, that's the interesting part, to get all these little pieces to get it to the goal. Uh, and sometimes one of the steps doesn't work. So you need to kind of turn around and be flexible in your mindset to accept, hey, initial idea didn't work. Let's try something new. And that was very difficult in the corporate world. So there was, oh, it didn't work, it is a failure.
Mm.
In the startup world, it didn't work, let's try a different angle. And I think this is a more healthier approach because you you all, every time you try something, you prove something. And if it didn't work, you know the root cause and you say, okay, this is why it didn't work. Let's do this to make it work.
Mm.
In the corporate world, oh, it didn't work. Chuck, the budget is cut and the project is gone. Maybe it was very close and it's only a tweak. So we lose out a lot of efficiency and innovation because we think in this kind of bureaucratic way. And
Mm.
that's why I enjoy this world of startups because you guys don't give up. You want to make it succeed. The mission is success. The mission is not, oh, that's failed, let's do something else. That's not a mission. It's just bureaucracy.
But but I think it's really important, and probably what our audience would really love to learn about is when a lot of people are probably looking for mentors, especially a lot of entrepreneurs are looking for mentors to help them guide their business. And maybe some of them are intimidated at the search. Maybe they don't even know that they can search for mentors yet. I know I had to go through a process. I was lucky to find out about the team, the venture mentor team, and to, you know, through my networking and through my journey that happened. But um, let's talk a little bit about how people find a mentor and what it is the mentors are looking for when they find you.
Um, yeah, it's different in the different regions. In Europe, we are very behind in this. Here you have a lot of university and situations where the mentoring is pushed and it's promoted. In Europe, we just started with this mentoring, and I'm also a mentor at Werk 1, which is a Munich startup accelerator. Um, they're not as organized, and it's not so prevalent. And even in the corporate world, I spent 32 years in the corporate world. I wished for a mentor, but I never had one. So I had to do everything myself, and that's why I also promote this on my LinkedIn whenever I have a good supportive post that I find. I either repost or write my own gist of it because I believe that it is very important not to walk alone. As a founder, you're very alone. You have all these thoughts and you need a sounding board, a sparring partner. And if you don't have that, you lose out on a lot of good stuff that can happen to you. You could do it alone. Some people are able to do it alone, but it's better to walk together. You go further. And alone you can be much faster because you don't need to discuss anything. You make a decision and you execute, right or wrong.
Right.
But if you have a sparring partner and you discuss it, your decision has multiple angles. And that's what I like about the mentoring team. We have group mentoring. So we have like 4 mentors and sometimes 4 different opinions. And then the founder can pick the opinion that suits him best. And out of this diversity of opinion, he has covered a lot of ground and comes out with uh, a good decision. And that's what I really enjoyed, especially with the venture mentoring team, is this group setup where you also learn from the other mentors as a mentor. Because you have a certain way of looking at things. Others look from a different angle. And I like also that a diverse mentoring group where we have male and female, we have different cultures, and it's amazing what kind of results come out of this because there's no one way to look at things. There's many ways that lead to Rome.
Mm. Uh, And when people, so venture, for those who don't know, the VMT is the Venture Mentor Team. It's a program that supports startups and business. They assign groups of mentors who volunteer to support a given startup. Um, that's the program Grow From was lucky enough to be a part of, and Michael was bold enough to lead the mentoring for. Um, but how do people find the VMT group, or how do they reach a place in their startup journey where they're ready for the VMT group? Can they do it day one, or is there some back history that's expected, some history of entrepreneurship that's expected?
No, I mean, you can come at the idea stage. You can come with a MVP. We had one startup this week. She already has won a pitch contest. She had an excellent pitch deck, and so she applied for the venture mentoring team because I told her to. I met her outside the activities and said, "Hey, if you want to go further and you want to have some good advice, apply," and she did. So it's all about the promoting the team. One big arm is the Emerge Americas because we are basically coaching, mentoring all 110 startups. They can schedule calls weeks ahead of the pitch contest, and they get to know the venture mentoring team, and we get promoted by Emerge, and we promote Emerge. So it's kind of a mutual agreement. But we also work with the National Science Foundation for the ICOR program, which is kind of taking IP from the universities, and they have a technical and a commercial co-founder that start this IP commercialization for the universities. We work with a ton of universities that have like accelerators, and so we are 265 or 270. Every month we get new mentors, and we actively search for universities with like an accelerator track. Now I've just recently brought the University of Tampa to us, and we will start a chapter there. So it was very passive 2 years ago, but now we are super active, and we are also starting chapters like in Europe, the German chapter and the Turkish chapter, and different countries to
Mm.
really promote the idea because it's very powerful. The people, we have a lot of experienced people that come to the end of their career. They could unplug and play golf,
Mm.
but you need to also train your mind and keep your intelligence active. And you need a challenge. And this is a perfect way to give back and learn and keep fresh and keep up to date.
I
So,
think that's probably one of the biggest things that I feel is such a waste when it comes to the retirement community. Is there's so many people out there who have a lifetime of experience and it just goes for nothing. Um, and I don't know if that's because our lifespans have grown. I don't know if that's because our society is very, at least on the US side, is very individualistic, or maybe it's just like at the end of retirement, everyone's naturally just, ready to hit the course. But um, I've seen so many people who do reach the end of their career and want to give back or want to do something. And I've even met people who gave up on that and said, I didn't find an avenue
Mm.
that would listen to me. I have all this knowledge and I have nobody to pass it on to.
Yeah, it's a different topic also. It's like this ageism. Some people don't even want to retire, but they're forced to retire because we think that older people are difficult to manage because they're set in their ways, and I think it's not true. It's I always say old experience, but not obsolete. And now we're getting off topic here a little bit, but this knowledge, the wealth of knowledge that we have from people that have had a career in corporate or had founded themselves multiple startups and had exits and stuff like that, they are those people are invaluable, and you can't just toss them to the side and have them sit drive on the golf course and play golf all day. They they, they have good input, and if they are trained to mentor, and if they're willing to mentor and they willing to listen, they can give incredible advice.
Yeah, I absolutely. The So we've talked a little bit about how startups can get involved in a program. Some of the early they can get involved at an early stage, and it's the fact that the number of incubator programs out there is growing. The number of mentorship programs out there is growing. So help us understand, or help the audience understand, as a mentor, what are some of the key things that you drive the mentees to improve on? What are some of the most common things that startup entrepreneurs are struggling with? And maybe you can talk also a little bit about some of the myths around startup life.
So, startup life is hyped or was hyped over the last decade, and it was like, oh yeah, I'm a startup founder and this and this and this. Um, it's a tough life. You're very much alone. All the decisions you always are depending. The whole company is always depending on your decisions. Every day you look at your runway and see, oh, how long does the money last? And every time schedule is is always delayed because you have, or we, I mean, also in corporate the same, have the tendency to put the best optimistic path into our planning, and it's never the best optimistic path. So it's always some kind of setback and something doesn't work, and you expect the next funding round then and then, and it's delayed because your MVP is delayed. So there's always something going wrong. So you need to have a secure runway. So it's better to be frugal, save the money, and extend your runway, and keep the focus on keeping the company alive. Some companies, some startups take a lot of, they pay themselves, the founders, a huge salary because they got funded. That's also not the best way to do it because that money is gone from the company. It's maybe good for you for the time being, but it's also not extending the runway. The other topic is sometimes you have this idea you're still fully employed. It's better to keep the full employment and start on a side hustle as long as possible. When you come to revenue and you kind of you're able to shift, that's the better way to do it. If you have a big hardware topic, you need a lot of investor money early, and then you need to have full energy in the project. So there's a lot of things that can go wrong. When it works out and you have a good supportive group, it's a lot of fun, despite the setbacks, despite the tears and the sleepless nights. it's every day is different. You have ups and you have downs. And the thing is, it's like a marathon. And I've run a couple of marathons, and I ran New York, and I came to the halfway point, and it was kind of an uphill. So I came up and said, okay, now I see all these people on the other side. Oh, I should be way up there, way up front. I came up there and I was like, ton of people were ahead of me, and it's like it took me a little bit back, but then I continued on. You will have little setbacks, but you should overcome them, and that's the essence of a founder, because the founder doesn't give up. He completes the marathon, and the goal line is basically the exit. So if you make it there, you finished your marathon. You might have
One
sore
of
muscles and you feel bad the next day, but the accomplishment it gives a great satisfaction.
one of the things that no, but I think my camera need a little. Here we go. Hello. There we go. Um, one of the things. Two thoughts came to my head on that one, and I'll start with the second one, and that was, as a founder, one of the things that I have gone through or experienced throughout my journey is uncovering my limitations and learning the depth of things. So for example, early on you said, you need to work on your value proposition, and we need to make sure that, we talk about the business model canvas. And I worked on it, and I put together a business model canvas, and now I look back at that and I'm like, wow, that was terrible. Like I didn't really understand what I was doing. I didn't really understand how I was going through. And because of our journey together, I've had moments of growth where I can say, yeah, absolutely. Like I understand things better now, or I understand how to approach things better now than I did before. And so the question I had was, what is it that you think helps a founder grow? What is it? What are those moments, or what are the ingredients that you sprinkle onto a relationship that you feel helps a founder overcome obstacles, mental obstacles? Not just like, obviously there's connections, obviously there's things that you can do for them, but what is it that you do that helps them grow themselves?
I think it is looking back, and like you said, the business model canvas. Every time it's like a continuous improvement process. You need to complete the cycle, go back to the beginning, and see, okay, what worked and what didn't work. Where do I need to hone? And that's kind of and that's your eureka moment. It's like, okay, ooh, this we put this in there, but that doesn't work. This we forgot about.
Mm-hmm.
Let's focus on this, and now we need to brainstorm what else can we do. And this openness to like also admit that something didn't work, or you made a mistake, or you forgot something, it's part of this dialogue. And I always say it's like great ideas are born together when people talk, and they inspire each other's mind. So it's this constant dialogue, and the monthly meetings, and the putting looking at things and kind of honing the idea, and then test it out, and then rinse and repeat. It's not a one and done. It's like a little Lego construction. You put these blocks together, and you create something, but it's not initially perfect.
So one of the myths, and especially propagated by YC, or the Y Combinator program, is that a startup should be viable after 3 months? Like that, there's that 3 month rule, right? There, they say, within 3 months, you should be able to have your business model together. You should be able to have, pre a pipeline. And you should be able to have all of these things. And so, what do you think about that? Is that still valid? Was it valid? When was it valid? And how should founders look at that?
I don't I don't agree. I mean, you have to look at Y Combinator, what their goal is. They also want to make money, so they need to have a quick turnaround and quick acceleration. Some ideas need more time. Some ideas need more iterations, and they they don't work on the first shot. And they would be a catastrophe if you push them along the whole uh, into revenue and then they fail. So you need to refine, and it's better to have these iterations in the beginning when it's still not expensive than to have the iterations when you have spent the money and then you start again. Then the money goes into the garbage bin and is burned. So I'm more careful with the time. I have it with a good wine. Good wine needs time. So um, also good startup needs time. So things you come with a lot of ideas in the beginning, and you need to kind of prove them out. And a good creative founder has like a whole head full of ideas. And the first 3 months, you need to sort them out and you kind of boil it down to what's viable and what's not. So the 3 months are gone for that. And you don't want to
And
rush it and say, oh,
what would you say the best way for them to do that is? What's the best way for them to boil it down to what's viable and what's not?
yeah, first you write it down. You kind of explore every idea and then you kind of say, okay, you put it into a priority and say, okay, let's explore this one first and then go this and this. And but keep them somewhat in visible, not in focus, but you focus on your top priorities and explore them. And in the end, if they work, it's fine. You keep the ideas for the next startup because most startup founders, they will not sail into the sunset after the exit. They will go back and say, oh, what about this idea? So you're a successful founder is a founder for life. If you're semi-successful, you might turn to a corporate job. But if you got the bug, and I think it's contagious, you want to do it again. And I was in Israel and Tel Aviv at the Commotion, and the Israeli startup scene is incredible. They had like every guy I talked to was a serial entrepreneur. They had the
Mm.
second, third, fourth exit, and it's like, no, I need to do it again. So they are that's it's like a DNA thing.
Mm.
Um, and so you will not do one startup and sell it and then retire. You will do it again.
Yeah, that kind of leaned into my the first question I was going to ask before. There's a book by Rand Fishkin called Lost and Founder where he talks about how difficult the startup life is.
Mm.
And he says, if you aren't, if it isn't in your DNA, then you would be so much better off with a, high paying technical job or going the corporate route because you just won't survive it. And I've thought about that a lot. I've thought about what is it that's that key ingredient that separates a founder who gives up from a founder who pushes through, and when do you know you have it?
I- Honestly, I believe in trying. So if you have this idea, the worst thing that can happen is you don't try it and you regret it for the rest of your life. You're now 80 years old and you say, I should have done this. That's the worst
Mm.
part. So you try it. You try it as a side hustle. But you get clarity. And if it doesn't work, you close the chapter and said, okay, I tried it. Didn't work. But I have tried it. And that's for me the most important thing is try things out. And the startups or the founders, they get to try out a lot of stuff. And in the corporate world, you're stuck with your rules and processes, and you're not allowed to try out stuff unless you find a space where you don't ask for permission, you ask for forgiveness later on when it didn't work. But that's a very rare constellation. So most of the time you're
Hmm.
under scrutiny. So you get this freedom to try things out, to develop things. And that's absolutely incredible. It's a gift. So it it will actually also set free a lot of forces that you didn't know you had. It sets it, you find energy, you find creative potential just to you grow your mind when you do this. When you're stuck in this box and process world, you lose out on some of the intellectual properties that you have. You have this brilliant mind, and you're not allowed to use it to the full extent. So, I my advice: always try
For anybody who,
for anybody. You don't know if you have the DNA or not. You will find out, and if you have like 6 months into the startup and you really feel, oh, I it doesn't excite me, I can't do it, I don't want to do it, then it's fine. You got clarity. And then it's better to close it down. And it's they always have this relationship 9 out of 10 fail, startups fail. Uh, I think it's okay. It doesn't need to be everything doesn't need to be a success. The success is you discovered something, you also discovered that it doesn't work, and you closed it. It's a success because you closed the chapter and you kind of okay. I tried it. It didn't work.
one of the things that I've really loved about the entrepreneurial journey is the networking side.
Hmm.
I found that as an entrepreneur, I meet with so many people outside of my professional zone. It's not just the people I'm working with full time, but creative people, and you've introduced me to a number of them already, and just it's so interesting that what other people are doing to change the world or to put their own stamp on the world. And there was a comment once that said everybody could be an entrepreneur, and not that technically everyone could, but saying like there's so much room for innovation in the world, and there's so many ideas that people have to accomplish that. Um, I I just think if people did try, like you were saying, and maybe instead of going that road solo, they found somebody like you,
Hmm.
somebody who would walk with them and carry them through that. I know in my journey, there have been days where I'm like, wow, I got to pick myself up because I'm going to talk with Michael today, or I'm going to talk with Michael at the end of the month, and I don't want to have nothing to show for it. And so, I think what you do is incredibly important in that sense, as a mentor. And I think that the concept that you presented of anybody giving it a try, if you compare those two together, I think that's a really powerful opportunity for people to step into the entrepreneur world who maybe didn't think they could in the past.
Yes, you are, in a way, you're an accountability partner. And you're right. I don't want to talk to my mentors again and have nothing to show. So, and I'm curious what you bring. So I have this curiosity. So what's Kevin up to in the next call? What's his? And we talked before, so we prepare what we talk about. But the my how should I say this? I'm always curious what will be the next idea of the founder. And I had one startup. It didn't work. She needed funding for the next step to build the prototype, and she didn't want to tap into a 401k. And she was like, if I do this, this is my retirement. Then I'm. She had fear, and
Mm.
she found a way. She found a creative way, and then she actually did it. And you have certain moments where you feel, oh, this is very close to the heart,
Mm.
and this can
We
go
had a
far.
moment like that last year.
Yeah, yeah. But it's also important that you stand by the side of the startup and the
Yeah.
founder, and you 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 are the stability partner. So I made like bi-weekly calls and kind of like I was the emotional support in this phase.
That's a good topic segue. Can you talk a little bit about startups you've worked with that have been really successful or that have had really successful moments, or startups that have had really bad moments? What are some of the highlights so far in your mentoring, coaching, and advising career?
So one of my first ones is a test automation company. They build test automation software, but their idea is far greater than test automation. They have built a quality ops, the observability platform. And it was last year at this time, it was close to the end. Runway was minus 1 month, and it, we had one guy looking for investors until I stepped in and I said, now let me take over and I will find investors. I found investors and we got it stabilized. And today, this month, they got the first license order. Before it was always service orders from BMW, is their biggest customer. And now they got the first product license order for this product. They have a 5-year contract. They have applied for grant money. They get $1 million in grant money. So they're on the safe side.
Hmm.
So we were looking over the cliff and the gravity was pulling us and we made the turnaround. And it was, I didn't sleep. He didn't sleep. As like we had moments where we really, where it was very close to collapse. So we made this turnaround. And this was in revenue now. It's growing fast, and um, I think he's going to make it really big. So,
It's a cool story.
but it was, I mean, he came over Christmas and visited. He lives in Munich, and I live in close to. I have a house close to Frankfurt, so he came by in between the Christmas years, introduced his wife, and so we we became not only mentor and advisor and whatnot. We became friends over time, and this is
Mm.
kind of also how I want it. I want to be close to my startups and have this trusted advisor friendship um, relationship because I don't believe in hierarchy, and I don't want this. We are equals, and this needs to go both ways. And Not all my ideas are good. So sometimes I also expect my founder to say, hey, this is not a good idea.
Yeah.
So that little background noise here.
All good. All good. Um, I think that's a really great story. Was there a time where maybe where a startup had a really rough time and wasn't able to pull through, or closed up shop?
Some of the university startups, they graduate and then they get big jobs.
Mm.
So they have the intention to continue, but the big money and the parents are pushing, and it's like, hey, we paid all this money for your education. You better take that job. So, and then the startup just good idea, and they just stop it. And I'm disappointed. I was very disappointed for the first ones because I believed, hey, great idea. We can actually take this. One was like for the visually impaired, it was like a LiDAR tool that kind of gave them visibility almost.
Mm.
And I was disappointed. I said, well, they had such a drive, they had a good team, they could have done it. But of course, hey, there is also other opportunities out there, and you need to make a conscious decision how you want to continue your life. So
Yeah.
I understand the decision. I've just felt, hey, this was would have been worth a trial. But and then you have life-changing events like you get a divorce or some family member gets sick and you need to refocus your attention. You can't, you have to do other things. And then you have to take a step back and see, hey, uh, can I do this with the financial strain and the time restrictions, or do I need to do something else? And I
One of the
understand.
thing one of the things I've always appreciated about uh, your mentorship and mentorship in general is I think that there is there are a lot of people who are willing to give advice in this world, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of times that advice isn't tailored to an individual.
Hmm.
It's not tailored to their life situation, and it quite frequently is advice simply for a marketing perspective, a kind of a shock and awe advice type of thing
Hmm.
to pull people into whatever program they would like to have. And I think mentorship is very unique in that sense where it's a tailored approach to a particular individual, to their lifestyle. And so you can hear, on social media or wherever, that this is how you should be, this is how you should run your startup, or these are the challenges that Barbara Cochran or whoever celebrity overcame in their personal life to become successful. And it's like, yeah, that was their personal situation. That was what they did and the decisions that they made. But and that was maybe right for them at that time. But that doesn't mean it's the same path for everybody else. Um, and so what I like about what you were saying and as a mentor is that it's going to be different for everybody, and everybody's going to have different values that they're going to put onto their particular journey.
Yeah, the cool thing is there's no one size fits all. There's this framework that you follow. You need to do the business model canvas. You need to get a good pitch deck. You need to have a good go-to-market strategy and your MVP and stuff like that. You need to have the tools, but then you also need your own secret sauce. What makes your startup special? It's the founder, the very big role, but also what kind of IP do you have in there that really makes it special? Sometimes it's just a combination of things. It might not be the one thing that is like a trademark or a patent or something. It's just a combination of different things that nobody else has. And if you have the right mix, personality, idea, and execution, hey, it should work.
Yeah.
But it's very, very individual. I have not met a startup that is like, oh, this is the same as this is the same as this. The people are different. The idea is slightly different. It could be the same idea, but it would still have a different outcome with different people. So it's always interesting. And the first hour with a startup, I try to understand the whole, the people, the personality behind it, the project, and the the idea, the product, and kind of sort it in my greater cosmos of things. And that's the for me the most wonderful challenge because I it's very intellectually stimulating, but if you can do this in this quick interaction, you also have a good contribution. So I liked when I do Emerge Americas, I have these 1 hour slots. I need to understand the founder's uniqueness, I need to understand the product, and I need to give advice and sort it out. How do you tell the story in one
It's
hour?
funny that that's your mental framework, because as a founder, our mental framework is, how do I take this story and convey it so that they can understand it very, very quickly, right? so so it's that two-way communication street. Us trying to explain what we're thinking and you trying to understand what we're saying, and
Yeah.
nothing nothing is more challenging than telling somebody, you've got 12 slides, tell me all your thoughts and make it concise. You're like, okay.
And tell it in the right order and tell
And
it with
tell it
your
in the right.
passion. So it's you want to. So I always tell the startups, hey, think of it, your audience. You want to sell this idea to your investors. So you don't want a moment where they take their mobile phone and check their emails. They need to stick to your lips from slide 1 to slide 12. And you have to have this kind of, okay, what's next? This excitement. Oh, what does he need? So in the end, there comes the ask. So they need to keep this suspense level to the end. And then the investor will say, okay, 250, I can do. So that's when the next starting point for the next conversation comes after this pitch. Said, okay, let's talk. And then you get more into the details. The next conversation. It's not the one and done. You
Right.
get the interest. It's the starting point. And then you have many conversations that need to be well prepared for each topic. And then you get your investment. But if you already fumble in the beginning and you're not willing to really make this a good effort, then it's gonna fail.
I've seen that in my own journey in creating pitches, as well as in other people's journeys in creating pitches. It's extremely difficult. It's to first to create those 12 slides, but then to communicate them clearly and cleanly, and um, and with a compelling story in a compelling
Mm.
way. I remember we went back and forth so many times on my pitch deck to just try and figure out which place where we're going to place my personal bio. Like, it was all over the place through that, and um, I don't think people necessarily realize. Maybe people know this instinctively, but it's very much like a sales. It's a sales job. It's a sales and it's a storytelling job to pull together that pitch deck, and it can get very easy to think of it as a technical tool, and it's far from it. So much of it is very much about just communicating an idea more than anything else.
Yeah, and sometimes there is a given order, but I don't believe in the given order. I say it's how you tell the story. And sometimes you need to move the parts around and say, okay, where do we put the team slide? And
Hmm.
sometimes I put the team slide after the financials and say, these are the people that did it. This is the dream team that achieved all this. So to give it, sometimes the team comes further up. And so it's all on how you tell the story. And sometimes you have like a weaker link, so you need to kind of slot it in a good position and say,
Right.
okay, how do we cover this up? And how do we get over this and keep the story on a high level so the investor doesn't check his emails?
Right. Right. I like that. Okay. So is there in your career, I always ask this question to everybody I do a podcast with. Grow from, for me, is all about the moments that help us grow. All the things that we connect to that help us take a step in the right direction in our life, whether it's a career step or whether it's a life step. I mean, there's so many different ways that we grow. And it, as you know, it stems from my personal um, transformational moment that I had in your journey. You mentioned at least one moment where there was a transformational moment or a serious moment of growth where you stepped out of the corporate world and you stepped into the um, entrepreneur startup world. Can you talk to that? Tell us a little bit about some keystone moments in your career or moments where you were exposed to something that really helped you grow.
Yeah, the first, I mean, started out in mainstream in product management. You're in the middle of everything. So product manager works with everybody. It's like kind of the central point. I worked with engineering. I worked with the commercial guys, with sales, marketing, production. I and from my education, I had no problem with it because I knew all the fractions because I did mechanical engineering and the business administration part in a simultaneous study. So I can shift quickly. But the defining moment was when I came back from Chicago after a 3 year stint there. I took over the first like entrepreneurial job, and it was an area that was completely neglected after the product area failed. They kind of hid it in the organization and nobody wanted to touch it. And I said, okay, I take it. I didn't know what I was getting into. I came from Chicago. I hadn't maybe talked to the guys when they were still a bigger unit. And I came back and I was like, they didn't have a leader in 6 months. And they were all kind of on their own, like free radicals. And I had to kind of form the team and give it strategic directions. There was a lot of things that needed to be fixed. I had a bill to pay where there was no records of anything. But we got the order and they facilitated the order, and there was supposed to be a commission agreement, but nothing. And so a lot of things to clean up and moments where I felt like an entrepreneur. And I I turned it around. We found a new stellar product for this. We changed the market for the final assembly in the automotive. It was all air tools, and we changed it to battery operated tools. And we had one like enormous competitor that was like so much bigger than we were. Atlas Copco, they had like we were just lost in the rounding in the competitive space. But we became the dominant player in the final assembly. So they had the yellow tools, and once we were done, all the yellow tools were gone, and they turned blue. but it was our color. And I remember the moment, that was kind of a shaping moment. I came to BMW in Spartanburg. I walked the tool crib and they talked to me and said, yeah, we have these yellow tools, but they don't seem to work. He took the tool, it was working, and he hit it on the bench. I think it's broken. Went in the and reapplied our tool. So he wanted us to be successful because we came in from the grassroots. We were not arrogant. We were supportive, and I tried to have this customer focus in all the activities, and that kind of I kept that in my whole career until I reached a level where I was too close to. I was like reporting to the CEO, and I was doing PowerPoints. I had no more customer interaction, only at the CES when I showed our future products. I missed this interaction and this kind of being in front of the customer and getting to know their problems. And that's why I like the startup world. And Steve Blank says, oh, you need to have 100 interviews, you need to talk to your customers and get the product market fit right. That's what I still carry in me, because they tell you the truth, whether you like it or not, but you better listen.
Yeah, otherwise they're gonna break your power tools, right?
But
That's a pretty impactful moment, I'm sure.
That was fun for me, not for them. For Atlas Copco. So.
Well, if people want to get in touch with you, if people are looking for coaching, advising, mentoring, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you? And how can we help you promote what it is you're doing?
So the best way to get in touch with me is like on LinkedIn. There is a little link on the top. How can we talk or how can we connect? I need to check what it actually says, but it goes straight into my Calendly, and you can just get a slot of 15, 30, 45 minutes. There's a little buffer of 15 minutes because sometimes I like to ask a lot of questions and the time is not enough. Also, I always react to LinkedIn. That's my main tool. I also email is okay, but I usually start via LinkedIn. You get all the information, and you already can see whether there's a fit or not. And I always have an open ear. So I'm the curious type. I will listen and I will give free advice. And I even have a product called Ask Me Anything. That's on my paid side of the business, that's the cheapest that you can get. It's the $250 dollar thing. You can ask me whatever you want.
That's cool.
And then I have different things like advisory board. I also have executive coaching because sometimes I never wanted to make it a product, but people come to me because I did this coaching program, ILM7. And they said, Michael, I need your help to navigate my career. You have done a lot, and I never wanted it to be a sellable product, but now I've put it out because the demand was there and people needed this trusted advice on a more personal level. It's not linked to like an area of expertise. It's more linked to how do I lead, what's my next step, how do I build my career, and it's also advice and mentoring, but it's different. It's more on a personal side.
Well, it's absolutely wonderful what you do. Anybody out there, I can vouch for it. Michael is, well, you can tell from the interview, Michael is just an incredible listener and an incredible advisor with tons of experience and no pretentiousness around it. And I've always appreciated that and valued your support in our journey. But I'm also just grateful that there are people like you who are supporting others' journeys, because I think that this is such a beautiful space, so much fun to be in the startup world, and no one makes it better than people like you, Michael. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Yeah,
Unscripted, but a lot of fun.
yeah. No, thank you so much, Michael, and we'll be in touch.
Okay.
All
Take care,
right.
Kevin. Bye bye.
We'll we'll stop the